are to be in pictures. You're wonderful.
Hello, and welcome to the Talkies.
The Talkies.
How's it going, D?
It's going good, man.
How's it going, Taylor?
Very good.
We saw a movie today.
We sure did.
Isle of Dogs from Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
This had me barking.
Great.
No. Begging for more? No? Throw me a bone.
Oh.
Hey? No? Okay. Why don't you take over then?
Oh.
I got nothing.
Okay, this was good.
Freaking good. This was awesome. This was Wes Anderson at his finest.
This was so good. I loved this movie.
Yeah, I loved it too.
I loved it. Taylor, you
Same.
hated it?
I loved it.
Same.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Same. Lit.
I thought it was great.
Lit dank.
Lit movie. We give it a rating of lit. Where to begin?
Dank out of 10.
I think I'd like to start off with just the animation itself. Okay? I feel like this film blurred the line between stop motion animation and any other form of animation so much what I mean by that, I know they incorporated some hand-drawn animation stuff and some CGI stuff, but the stop motion was so good
Yeah.
that you forgot you were watching stop motion.
For me, it wasn't that way. It wasn't.
Well, it was for me.
I thought it was amazingly high quality stop motion.
Well, no, there were all these moments where you're just like, that's such a cool miniature they built, right? Like, I get that.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Some of those moments for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in the flow of the storytelling, there were things they did where, yeah, they wave a flag and say, look, this is stop motion, like using cotton balls, fluff at like smoke, you know.
I loved
it. It was
that.
awesome.
Yeah,
I loved that.
Yeah.
But like in Nightmare Before Christmas, for example, there were a lot of things that happened and would go, whoa, they just did that in a stop motion film. How cool.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, there were things they just pulled off and I didn't stop and think, pretty cool for stop motion. You know?
That's true.
I felt like it was just sort of right up there on par with many of the CGI animated films.
I really feel like animation fits Wes Anderson's style so perfectly. Like ever since
agree.
he did Fantastic Mr. Fox, I feel like when he did yeah,
I haven't seen Fantastic Mr. Who.
it's really good.
It's so funny.
Really, really good.
It's weird,
It is pretty weird.
just like this movie.
This movie was weird.
It was like, I feel like that was a turning point for his style. Like he always kind of had that weird, like center frame, you know, kind of kooky style.
Yeah.
But after, I think he had his experience doing stop motion and had the opportunity to fully control every single aspect of everything.
Right.
It just changed how he directed
But
movies.
that's just the thing, right? He is a hyper stylized storyteller in all of his movies. But when you're directing other human beings, there's only so far you can imprint your style upon them. Ultimately, they bring some of their style to the screen as well. Edward Norton will always be Edward Norton in every role he plays. Same with Bill Murray, right? Bill Murray largely doesn't stop being Bill Murray, even if has a layer of Wes Anderson weirdness on top of him. But with animation, now we have the artist, the auteur, literally controlling every single visual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, really complimented. Like you said, like the dollhouse looking thing.
Right, yeah. And so like everything after Fantastic Mr. Fox, even his live action stuff like Grand Budapest Hotel started to feel like Grand Budapest Hotel almost feels like an animated movie. Just the way it's shot.
It has an animated sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's really cool.
I thought it was funny in this one how they used it was stop motion for the entire film, but then like TVs were hand drawn animation.
Yeah, that's great.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. And it did look cool. It was funny choice because you would think they would just shoot stop motion and put it on a
And just
TV
put it on
screen,
another- yeah.
but instead they use a whole nother medium for screen footage.
Yeah, it's like you said, like he doesn't go for low hanging fruit.
No.
You just said
No.
like, there was a joke in here that they
Yeah, so
bypassed.
there's a lot. So I started off the episode today with some very bad dog humor, right?
Right.
And there's a lot of dog jokes and cliches that are available there when you're making a movie all about dogs. And he didn't use any of them.
Yeah.
And there was one point where he had a golden opportunity to make a really sort of low-hanging fruit, lame joke, and that's with the word bitch. And they use the word bitch when one of the dogs says to another, "Hey, while you're back there, you might see this bitch named Nutmeg." But it wasn't delivered to be funny at
Right.
all. It was completely deadpan, right?
Using the word as it actually
And I could just see
means.
any other movie, like someone just like looking right into the camera and raising an eyebrow, like right,
I know.
like right when he says that.
You know what's funny is also like if Pixar did something like this, right? They would be all jokes that are around dogs, right? Like in Cars, like everything has to do with car jokes
Yeah,
and things.
Yeah,
But this was just
give my left lug nut.
Yeah.
Right.
So like, but this one was just a good, interesting story that happens to be about dogs.
Very
you know.
human characters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The dogs were very human.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they treat the dogs as like they're humans, and they talk like humans. They are
Actually,
humans,
the dogs are more human than the humans.
Yeah, especially like
Basically because this film was the dogs are the main characters and it's set against Japan,
Yeah.
right?
I really like the use of Japan in here.
And by putting the dogs in English and keeping the people Japanese, they really like set up this barrier that made it very clear this is just about the dogs.
Yeah,
I wonder how this would like feel in Japan.
that's what I was thinking about too. I was like thinking about watching a Japanese subtitled version of this would be a very strange
Feel like a
experience.
fever dream.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I really like how because it's Japanese language as a foreign language, right? It's meant for American audiences.
Yep. I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like the use of Japanese was to be a foreign language.
Right.
It wasn't put in to be like, let's authentically represent Japan.
Right.
It was, let's have something foreign that this was based on.
That's
a
exactly
foreign backdrop.
That's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
so like there's scenes where interpreters are speaking over Japanese dialogue, and so it works very specifically for an American audience. But like if you were watching that as a Japanese person in Japan, it'd be like,
This is annoying.
yeah, it'd be like, what the heck? Because now you're reading subtitles, but you could probably still faintly hear what they're saying, and then there's like this English in between it all.
Right.
It's like, what the
And not
heck?
only that, but like you could understand, when they're yelling about things.
Yeah.
Like they have some of the characters in here, like Kobayashi and his
Right.
bodyguard, who are like yelling things, and then they get interpreted as like super calm.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, there was a big uproar around this movie about cultural appropriation and about who's voicing what and what their
Right.
ethnicity is, which, it's a whole other conversation we
I
could
mean,
have.
none of the actors were dogs, so
I know.
it's pretty bad.
Yeah, all those underemployed dogs in Hollywood.
seriously. You could have really
thrown them a bone.
You could have.
Anyway, why was I bringing this up? I was
to
going
be controversial.
just to stir the pot. No, I was going to say what it comes down to is who is your audience and
Yeah.
what are you trying to do to them? Okay, so I forget the filmmaker's name, but this film is out right now, The Death of Stalin. I heard an interview with him. He's the guy that made Veep on HBO. Very funny. And he talked about the temptation in Death of Stalin to have all the actors use a Russian accent, and decided that ultimately that would actually, in trying to be more authentic, we would have put another layer of inauthenticity on top.
Yeah.
And so since it's in English, everyone either has a British, Canadian, or American accent in that film, and they never try to sound Russian because it's for the audience.
That's interesting. I like that a lot.
He's not trying to say here's a slice of what it would have felt like to be there in this place when this thing happened.
Yeah.
Instead, this is more about here's a story I want to tell you.
Yeah.
And actually trying to be more authentic gets in the way of that story.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it would have happened with this. You know?
I agree.
Because it's very obvious that that Wes Anderson is using Japan as just a set piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's not trying to tell anything really, really unique about the culture.
Yeah, and I get the sense he did some research. He probably went and
he
spent
got
some
some
time
stuff.
in Japan, and
Right.
he definitely borrowed a lot of visuals from there. But
Yeah.
ultimately, this was based on it was fictionalized Japan.
Yeah, there's even a running joke about translation in here, where they have the titles where they always have a vertical title of Japanese and then in parentheses the English subtitle. But they made it to where it was like newspaper headlines where it had like parentheses, and they had like the computer printing out tickets that had English parentheses on it. I love it.
You know, it's like movies are never meant to be authentic. You know, movies by their nature are fake
Because they're stories.
Yeah,
Right.
They're all
stories.
manufactured to pretend. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You have
Yeah.
actors who are pretending, and you have
Actors
a story
pretend
that you're telling.
to be something they're not really in
Right.
real life.
The only thing that would be weird is like if you had cultural appropriation in like a documentary, like that would be a weird thing.
Sure.
You know? Like
Yeah.
if you had white people playing a real Japanese person while you're trying to tell their actual documented story,
Yeah,
that would be weird. But when it's just a regular
fiction.
fiction, yeah, it's fine. You know, let the artist do what they want to do.
Yes.
You know,
That's where I really think that whole conversation should go. Is let the audience decide.
let the audience decide. Yeah,
If the audience doesn't want to see a person without a disability portraying someone with a disability, if that puts off the audience, then don't show up and buy a ticket.
right.
Message sent.
Yeah,
But let the artists make what they want to make.
Yeah,
That's the point of art.
that's the
Right?
exact point
Even
of it,
if
yeah.
it's meant to piss people off or create a conversation or offend someone, sometimes art does have that intent. But that's the prerogative of the artist.
right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Man, this movie was funny. I laughed more often, not at jokes, but just at things Wes Anderson did to help tell his story.
Yeah.
Right?
I did too.
Like these little tricks, you know. He has all these tricks up his sleeve, and I'm just like, oh, I see what you did there. One of my favorites is that at the end, the kid gets sent in for brain surgery because he has a piece of shrapnel in his head. And so all they show is the door, the closed door of the surgery room, and there's a sign on it that says brain surgery in progress. And then a nurse comes out and switches the sign to brain surgery complete. And it was like, there was the passage of time of the brain surgery. We didn't have to show anything or say anything. It was just like,
Yeah, didn't even have to crossfade or anything.
Yeah.
It was literally just an action.
They had so many visual storytelling running jokes in here where I'm not sure if they're running jokes per se.
Yeah.
But they are funny ways of telling the story where we got literally like, what was it, just 10 minutes into the movie, and they had already set up all of this backstory and everything about how there was a war between dogs and man, and then and cats became like the thing, and it was crazy. But they did all these like super simple stuff. It's funny because it reminds me of when we were talking about A Quiet Place, and how A Quiet Place goes into these things where we have like weakness drawn on the board circled, when you can tell that it's not for the story, it's for the audience. But everything in this movie, in Wes Anderson's movie, was for the audience, but that completed the aesthetic. Like that was part of his thing, was that he is basically talking to the audience with his visual language.
well, in another way, this was a direct opposite to A Quiet Place. Was like A Quiet Place existed in this vacuum where they set up rules so that you didn't have to know why anything was the way it was.
Right.
They were very careful to not cross any walls that would require you to know backstory. Right. So they don't give you any filler information in A Quiet Place. You're just in this place, and you have to figure out what you can figure out.
Right.
Whereas in this, we had flashbacks and flash forwards going on, narration over and over again, like throughout the whole movie. Like 2/3 of the way through the movie, you're still having flashbacks to tell different people's stories and character
and none
stories.
of it felt bad or forced.
And then, it always worked because they established it at the very beginning.
Yeah,
this is the way we play our game.
When we exited the theater, I immediately said how it very much felt like I watched a manga in motion, right? Like this, like everything shown to us was purposeful for showing it to us, and telling the story visually. And I think it was just because it was Japanese mixed with Wes Anderson's style that made it feel like a manga. But but it was really cool.
Also, to go back to your parallel with the A Quiet Place whiteboard weakness armor type thing.
Armor?
The big difference there also is that in A Quiet Place, that's a detail that's in the background that is not a huge, that you're supposed to notice and learn from, but is not like necessarily, you're not supposed to pick up on that the movie is telling you this.
Right.
You're supposed to feel like you're discovering it on your own without the movie telling it to you.
Right.
Which is where it fails, because it's painfully obvious that it's trying to tell it to you.
So there's a dissonance there, like you were saying, Kenny, where it exists in a vacuum, and like you're saying, you have to figure out everything as we're going. And in Wes Anderson, like you said, with the narration and everything, it's part of the aesthetic.
Exactly, yeah. He completely embraces that.
Yeah.
And uses it to his advantage rather than trying to...
And even makes jokes doing it, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's awesome. Like, that whole opening narration and setup of that world was probably my favorite part of the movie. Just because it was just hilarious. It was so funny and so charismatic and so creative and fun to learn this story about, like, dogs being like this exiled people, like the plight of dogs.
I want to talk about one scene real quick. It was the so this is very much spoilers, but
you've been warned.
when we discover that the main dog that we were looking for has died, but he's not actually dead. We discover and they make a joke out of the death. Like, nobody can figure out how to open his cage, and you're like, aha. And then
oh, that sucks.
Yeah. And they continuously, it's like, it's cool to see something so dark done well.
You're right, or when the dogs all go just like fly into an incinerator machine. And you're just like I mean, I genuinely believed we weren't going to see those dogs again.
Like mid-sentence.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh crap, I think Wes Anderson just killed those characters off.
Right.
I like how, like, halfway through that incineration, they're like almost getting smashed and burned, and they're like, well, we probably would have died by now if it was working properly.
Yeah, if we were going to die, I think it would have happened by now, don't you think?
That was really good.
It's so great.
Yeah, the other thought I had coming out of this movie was, why aren't there more movies like this? Why aren't there more filmmakers like Wes Anderson? Now, I don't mean that we need that much more Owen Wilson and and Bill Murray in our lives. I mean, maybe we do. But what I mean is that filmmakers that seem to are given a pass to just be as creative as they want, and continue to get budgets and get green lights and bring us a movie like every 2 years that is completely original and creative and fresh and engaging, there's not many people doing that.
There's not many, yeah. There's like, I think off the top of my head there would be Chris Nolan, there's Wes Anderson, and there's just very few others.
Yeah, Tarantino
is one,
yeah,
where they have their own aesthetic and they just kind of just go with the flow and just have fun, and creative.
Contemporary auteurs.
Yeah. Yeah, rather than a lot of other filmmakers that try to run film like a business. And we've talked about that before. Where film as a business is not as fun as film as art.
I wonder why that is right now. Because, like, so you do have a handful of people who get to do this. And I wonder what it takes to actually get into that position if you were to, like, be starting to do that now. Like, if you wanted to become that, you would have to, like, get extremely lucky with... You pretty much just have to be extremely lucky and very talented.
Right.
To be able to be in that position.
To get that kind of theater release, kind of big budget kind of thing going on, yeah.
Because Wes Anderson has the luxury of having a audience, a fan base that loves his movies and will always go and see his movies. I feel like
he's unique, though, in that he seemed to, like, build up. Like, each film was just gradually one step bigger than the next. Yeah. Whereas many of these other auteurs, as we call them, had some giant blockbuster that put them on the map, that made film studios basically say, yeah, Nolan, you can do what you want.
Right, yeah.
You know,
right. Shyamalan.
You keep, M. Night Shyamalan had the same story. You know, if you can keep bringing us The Sixth Sense, then I'll give you all the money you want. But Wes Anderson, it's like
Bottle Rocket.
Movies were never that big. They're still not that big.
Yeah, sure. Even this one took a while to get a wide release.
Right. That's
it started very narrow.
Yeah.
And you could tell by the trailers in front of the movie, this is an art house film, and they recognize that that's the audience coming to see it. So the fact that he keeps getting to do what he does astounds me, and I hope we can have more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what his box office track record was like. I haven't actually looked at it, but I feel like because his audience is very loyal, like I've met tons of people who just love Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And I think he has enough people who are that loyal to seeing his movies that he could just consistently
You look
make
at his
them.
films, they're not super high budget.
Yeah.
In terms of the things that typically cost a lot of money.
Right.
But then you got to think of his ensemble cast.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially in this one. Holy crap.
That is crazy. Yeah.
Or same thing with like Moonrise Kingdom.
Yeah.
Right. You had Edward Norton. You had Bill Murray. You had Bruce Willis. You know, these are not cheap movie stars.
Right.
I was just thinking Yoko Ono didn't really have almost any lines in this film.
Yeah, she only had a couple.
Well, she doesn't do a lot of movies, so I wonder what brought her into the project. That's interesting to me.
And her name was Yoko Ono.
Yeah. Yoko Ono did the voice of a character named Yoko Ono.
I liked the American girl in here and how she was very much the outlier in the film. Like I feel like a lot of other filmmakers, especially someone like Wes Anderson, would because they themselves are American. I don't know if Wes Anderson American. He looks American.
Yeah, I believe he is. We can look it up.
I could tell that someone, just another filmmaker who would do a Japanese film and then put an American person in there, would make them somehow more relatable or make them somehow more interesting. When she actually felt less relatable than the dogs, which was cool.
Yeah.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
It's nice to see your own culture as kind of like just another thing.
Right.
And she was just the white girl, in this Japanese school. I thought that was really
he's
cool.
actually not American. He's a Texan.
Oh yeah, Texas people are
from
American.
that faraway
that faraway land.
That seceded country.
His middle name is Wales. Wesley Wales Anderson.
Interesting.
WWA.
Another WWA film.
It was also interesting when she gets threatened to be sent back to her home, and they're like, "You're gonna be sent back to Ohio."
Yeah.
And when they said Ohio, it kind of felt like it felt like a weird place. You're like, "Oh no, jeez!"
Like, oh man, she's going back there.
Oh no,
Yeah.
like an alien place.
It was.
Just funny.
That was really cool.
You get the sense that she was like half Japanese or something, right?
Maybe. I mean, she knows
she knows
she had
Japanese.
the weirdest.
She could speak Japanese.
She had the weirdest look because she was
Yeah.
freckled
with
and
a
had
blonde like afro.
blonde afro.
Yeah.
It's like, huh?
Yeah, I guess she was probably designed to be unplaceable.
Yeah. I did like her character though, because it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't so focused. They kept their focus on the dogs, and what was cool was that the dogs were really the main characters. They really held the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was really neat. I like that a lot.
I like how they took like dog traits and like things that dogs do and incorporated them into these dog characters. I know that sounds weird, but like in a way that wasn't so on the nose. It felt like they were just dogs who were. This sounds really stupid the way I'm saying it. You know, it's just dogs who are just dogs, but they're very human.
They're not caricatures.
Yeah, exactly. They have like, it's like a part of them.
I almost felt like it was like we were watching a play where it was obvious that humans were playing dogs.
I could see that.
You know, almost like Cats, like the Broadway musical Cats.
Yeah.
Right? You buy into the fact that this is a story about cats, but you never once are fooled that they're not humans in cat costumes.
Yeah.
Right. No, I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like the way they talk about those bone biscuit treats and the way they talk about like
Their
like,
favorite foods.
Yeah, their favorite foods and like dog things. Like,
Yeah.
Like almost like soldiers or something like that.
Like it's just a thing that is here that
everyone knows.
it's a slice of their life.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
a slice of life of a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
through
but
the lens of a
I felt
human.
like, again, this wasn't about dogs at the
Yeah.
same time. Like, dogs were the main characters, but it wasn't about dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
It was about relationships. It was
Yeah.
about people. It was about, well, it was about politics, too.
Yeah.
This is another thing where you could say that the rules in the movie. Yeah, this is interesting about how this kind of movie rules don't really apply much. I mean, we do know that like
Robot dogs show up.
right.
So
We know that magic doesn't exist in this movie.
No
and
magic.
That's pretty much it.
it's just impossible technology.
Right. But we have computers that can act almost human. We have basically AI. I mean, in like the dogs.
Mhm.
Uh,
That
I mean-
really sophisticated lab.
yeah. I mean, it's just really we have dogs that can balance bowling balls and juggle with their feet. But none of it seemed out of place.
I found it very interesting. And I think that he had a deeper story to tell that is just sort of hinted at. Like, I mean, it's not coincidental that the opposition party is the science party,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the candidate who gets murdered is a scientist who has a cure to save the dogs and bring them back into the world. His political party is the science party.
The bad guys were people who were trying to spread ignorance was the thing.
Yeah.
They even because they had things where they were saying, "See, this works," and they're like, eh.
And Anderson didn't try to hit us over the head with it. Like, it wasn't a super, preachy
Right.
morality tale. We were all caught up in what was happening with the boy and the dogs, but that was going on at the same time. It was something that seemed pretty pertinent to our current time.
I like that. Yeah. He's a good filmmaker. This Wes guy. He should do movies.
He should make movies. He's made some great ones. I'm a big fan of Moonrise Kingdom. Was one of my favorites. Grand Budapest Hotel is really awesome.
Yeah, that's probably my
You
favorite.
have a bunch you don't like.
No, I've just never seen any of them.
Haven't you gone on record saying you didn't care for Wes Anderson?
In our upcoming 2018 films episode, I said I don't care for Wes Anderson's style, even though I've only seen bits of his movies.
I see. Are you backpedaling?
No, I'm telling you what I said.
Okay.
Now, what do you think?
Now I've seen all of his movies. So since then I've actually seen the Darjeeling Limited.
Which you didn't like.
No, so I didn't like the movie.
Guy can't make up his mind.
No, well, it's hard for me because it's clear that he's a talented filmmaker, and it's clear that he knows how to make films. And that turns me on to the idea that I like this filmmaker because they're very competent, but I don't like his style. Like the Darjeeling Limited, like I didn't like the actors, I didn't like their performances, although all of it was good. I just didn't like it. It's just not my taste.
If we gave him an order in which to pursue Wes Anderson films, what would be the next 3?
Probably.
So hard for me to say.
Because I loved this film. Just
Then-
crazy.
Yeah.
I really like this film.
Then I'd definitely say Fantastic Mr. Fox and Grand Budapest Hotel and probably Moonrise Kingdom.
I have Grand Budapest, so I should.
I highly recommend that one. That one's amazing.
Yeah, I would recommend those same 3, I think. If you want to get like a little, it's not weird, it's just like quirky, is this film The Life Aquatic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one's good.
Darjeeling Limited
love
was very quirky.
I love Life Aquatic.
If quirky is too much, the further back you go, the less
Less quirky.
overbearing his style is. So like
What was his
Rushmore,
first movie?
Bottle Rocket. That one's almost like a straight up drama with like.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like I don't know how to explain it. It's not so you can tell it's Wes
Yeah.
Anderson, but it's not like crazy.
I feel like
quirky.
the Royal Tannenbaums was the first film that like defines his
His style.
flair.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one.
He definitely has a very specific style.
But I've liked every movie I've seen of his, and I've seen almost all of them.
Nice.
I'm looking at him now. I have seen all but Bottle Rocket.
There
I
you go.
have not seen Bottle Rocket.
That one's really good.
Well, I got to see Fantastic Mr. Fox. Did that have what's his name in it?
George Clooney.
George Clooney.
Yeah. The way they recorded voices for that movie was really cool. They never did any voice recording in any studios or audio booths. And so, like, if they had a character running in the animation and talking, they would go outside with a mic and they would have the actor run and do his dialogue while they're running. And they
Wow.
did, like, the whole movie like that.
That's awesome.
Like, mimicking actions and stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
I like the way they cuss at each other.
What the cuss?
They say the word cuss.
They say the word cuss.
That's like their vulgar word. What the cuss? Cuss you! Yeah, all right. Do we have any more to say about the Isle of Dogs?
I loved it.
We should
Yeah,
give it a
I loved
pizza
it.
rating.
Oh, yeah.
This was like one of the best pizzas. It's like one of the.
It's close to as good as a pizza can get, right?
It's one
Yeah.
of those artisanal pizzas that's not like super specialty, but you're like, that's the one that you got to try.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a pizza place, you're like, get the number 8. That one. Isle of Dogs, that's really good.
It's like Alfredo sauce pizza.
for you.
I went
For me.
for you, only you, sir. Actually, I went when I was in England. This is going to sound weird because you don't go to England to eat pizza. Really, to be honest, sorry, British friends, you don't really go to England to eat anything.
Uh,
But I was at a Pizza Hut in England,
Pizza Hut.
which is a decidedly different experience than it is in the United States.
Interesting.
And one of the popular toppings in England on a pizza is sweet corn and caramelized onions.
Wow.
That sounds gross.
It was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen, and it actually is amazing.
Nice.
Like, it's fantastic on a pizza. And it's like weird and quirky, and you look at it and you're like, what? And I'm like, that's what this movie is.
It's like weird, but
Delicious.
that was delicious.
Delicious slice of British Pizza Hut with caramelized onions and sweet corn.
All right. I'm not sure how I want. Not sure if I want that.
Love it or hate it.
Okay,
Oh,
so
is that what it is? Yeah.
no, for Taylor it was
Alfredo
sauce.
That's the beauty of art, though. That's what I mean. When it's real art, you all see something different in the art.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
In Pacific Rim 2, we all saw the exact same thing on the screen.
Yeah.
When we see Isle of Dogs, we all see our own
Our own
flavor of pizza.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes. So,
Habanero mac and cheese pizza.
what are we watching
Ooh.
next week, guys?
I don't know.
It's in-
Not Truth or Dare.
I think it's in. Is it Infinity War?
Should we? Oh,
No.
it's Infinity War.
420 is Super Troopers 2. that's coming out. I don't know what we're on schedule to see because Rampage was supposed to be what we were gonna see,
Rampage.
but Rampage came out this week. Taylor's giving me the sign. Don't talk about that.
No Rampage.
Should we leave it up to the audience again?
Well, let's pull up the
Pull up
schedule
some
here.
options.
So Rampage will be one of the options.
Yeah. and that
Okay,
wouldn't be
so
very
next
fun.
week.
It's a really funny movie.
Unless I watched the first
It's not a big week for movies actually.
one. What's going on?
We got I Feel Pretty,
Okay.
Kodachrome, Super Troopers 2, and Traffic.
Oh,
Oh,
interesting.
Traffic. Ooh.
Ooh.
What else is out,
Dion
though?
Taylor, is that his name?
That's his name.
D used to work for Dion Taylor.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a internship.
Yeah. Okay.
we're all
So
like,
unpaid
"Ooh."
work.
Unpaid work, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I worked for their media team, put together titles and such.
Fun.
It was actually quite an interesting experience, but no offense. I just really don't like his movies like at all.
He's offended. He's actually watches the show. He writes us
I
regularly.
know he does. Yeah.
Actually, I think all the movies for the next 3 weeks have tried to get out of the way of
Infinity War?
Infinity War.
Yeah.
So that comes out the 27th. So you don't really want your movie out against the full force of Marvel.
Okay, so Rampage, Super Troopers 2. Should we put Traffic in there? I don't want
No,
to.
no.
Let's not
No,
do
if
that.
100% of our audience says to see Traffic, I still won't see Traffic.
It would be a good study. It would be a good study.
It looks bad.
Well, we can't get much worse than Winchester, so
That's true.
I'm sure that's true.
Is
Winchester
there
is
anything
bad.
else that's been out for a while that's
already
good,
out?
and we haven't
like
seen?
Isle of Dogs.
Yeah.
Well, there's Truth or Dare.
No, that was in our last one. Though. So hey, that got beat out.
That's a good point. I suppose.
Well, oh, sorry, microphone. Let me just Oh, what about this movie Beirut?
What is that?
Everyone's saying that's
and
good.
Is Death of Stalin still playing?
Oh, I want to see Death of Stalin.
Yeah.
Okay, so Beirut,
I don't know anything about it,
Beirut,
actually.
Dear
Death of
viewers,
Stalin.
can we see Death of Stalin? Please.
If Death of Stalin is still playing, we'll say Death of Stalin, Beirut,
Rampage.
Super Troopers 2.
Those 4.
Yeah.
Is that too many
All right.
options?
No, Force good.
So you tell us via Facebook, via YouTube, comment down below, right here, like in my lap. Super Troopers 2, Rampage, Beirut, or Death of Stalin.
If it's still playing. I don't know if Death of Stalin is still playing.
It might not be, but we'll see.
We'll see.
And
All right. And what? Housekeeping?
what did you think of Isle of Dogs?
Oh, yeah.
Tell
Do
us
you
what
disagree with us?
Because if you do, you're wrong.
Do you think this film was just a steaming pile of dog do?
Actually, I'd be really interested in hearing why people didn't like this film if
Yeah.
they didn't.
I don't know. I haven't heard anyone dislike it. It has a very high score on Rotten Tomatoes, and that pretty much represents reality.
Objective.
Right? Objective.
All right, fellas, I think that wraps it up for today. Thank you for watching another episode of The Talkies. And until next time, I'm Kenny,
I'm deep
I'm Taylor.
and we'll see you next time at the movies.
at the Talkies.
You ought to be in pictures.
Nah, copyright claim.
You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Taiko drumming.
You ought to be in pictures. You're wonderful to see. You ought to be in pictures. Oh, what a hit you would be. Your voice would thrill a nation.